Today's podcast episode is all about email marketing. And to chat about it, we brought on someone very special. You've probably heard of her already. She's really special in this industry. And that's Tori Mistick from Wear, Wag, Repeat. And this conversation is just, for lack of a better, more strategic word for you, fun. It's easy. It's really a low pressure, casual, and fun conversation about email marketing specifically for pet service businesses. Most of the tips and education out there regarding email marketing are not really refined down to local pet service providers. It's mainly like e-commerce businesses or like shops and brick and mortar. So I was so excited to get into the specifics of it with Tori. I highly recommend listening to this episode if you are at all interested in email, which you really should be. Email marketing is known to have the highest ROI of any other marketing tool, and it has so many perks that other platforms do not have, like owning your email list, higher open rates, exponential growth, the ability to tap into past clients, and so much more. So without further ado, here is my very fun conversation with Tori, all on the topic of email marketing for local pet businesses. Welcome, Petpreneur, to the Pet Marketing Unleashed podcast. I'm your host, Michaela Vargas, founder, designer, and educator behind Pet Marketing Unleashed. This podcast is all about growing your pet business without the stress. Here, you'll find episodes packed with actionable tips and advice for streamlining your online presence, avoiding burnout, and onboarding new clients while you're away from your desk or out with the dogs. So pop in those earbuds and learn stress-free marketing and website strategies with me while you head out on your next dog walk, pet sitting visit, drive to your next session, or just wherever your pet business takes you next. Let's dive in. Tori, I am so excited to sit down and talk with you all about email marketing. I am sure that so many listeners already know who you are, but just in case, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how email marketing has impacted your business?
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me, Michaela. I'm excited that you have a podcast now, and I'm really happy to be a guest here on the show. So I started my blog called Wear, Wag, Repeat over 11 years ago, and I really started it just as a hobby to document all the things that I like. And one of those things is dogs. And I really kind of through that discovered that the dog content had a lot more traffic and traction than anything else that I was posting, like my Pinterest fail recipes and stuff. So I discovered this awesome world of pet bloggers and just started growing my site, growing my social media, and then eventually growing my email list. And it's really been wonderful to have an email list that I can reliably use to send out new blog posts, keep in touch with my audience, poll them about new things that I might want to do to get their opinion, and just really build community through it. And especially in the last couple of years when like Facebook and Instagram have had glitches or gone down, it's really been wonderful to have my email list because I don't have to stress about that at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like email marketing is not like talked about as often as social media. Like social media has this like, for lack of a better word, because I feel like everyone uses this term, like it's sexy, right? But like social media is like the thing that people talk about and they don't talk about email marketing. And I feel like between the glitches and everyone talking about the social media algorithms and reach going down and paying for, like all of that stuff, there's so much potential with other avenues like email marketing. So can you explain a little bit about why someone should consider email marketing, especially in comparison to things like, social media or paid ads and things like that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that you're right. People think social media, like I think it's like the temptation of like, I could go viral or something. Going viral is not always all it's cracked up to be. It doesn't always result in revenue. So it's not always the best goal to really work towards. You want that like slow, sustained growth and building community with real people who like really want to be your customer. So one of the problems that I hear from people or just like the hesitancies about starting an email list is like, well, how am I going to get people on my email list? So I think that social media has this thing where it's like this built-in platform. You think I'll just set up a profile and people will follow me and people will see my stuff. But we all know that that's not always the case. And so I it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine when people are like, how am I going to get people to join my email list? Well, it's the same thing as on social media. So think about like on Instagram, you're constantly posting interesting, informative, or entertaining content on your page in the hopes that someone will follow you. So it's the same thing for your email list. You want to offer people information, education, entertainment. You want to offer them some sort of access to you that maybe they can't get on social media. And that's how you'll get people to sign up for your email list. So it really is something that you just have to start. But having an email list, you really have a more reliable reach to your audience. So, like you mentioned, that the algorithms on social media, it's just so unreliable. And you could post something, you could post a reel that gets 5,000 views or that gets 50 views, and you just don't know what's going to happen. Whereas with your email list, at least for mine and for most people's, it's pretty reliable. Your open rate, so the number of people who open your email and see it, is going to be fairly consistent across every single email. So for someone who puts a lot of effort into all these things like I do, I like to have consistent reach. I don't want to have 5 people see something every now and then. I want to know exactly how many people are going to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember I think I saw like, and I don't know how accurate it is, although it probably rings true in my own content, but like, I think they say like with like the feed post or whatever, it's like an average, or maybe it's even the stories that like an average of like 3% of your followers on social media are actually seeing your content, let alone are these people, potential clients versus someone who like intentionally signed up for your email list.
That's the thing is people on your email list, like I know, it feels like on social media they're opting in to follow you because they have to hit that follow button. But there's no real like risk or incentive. Like people can hit follow, unfollow, whatever. For someone to give you their email address, they are really granting you permission to send them stuff, and they really want what you have to share. It's like a super opt-in when someone gets on your email list versus just following you on social media.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. So for those of our listeners who do not yet utilize email marketing, which I imagine is a good portion of them, and perhaps we have people out there that maybe send like a monthly newsletter or something, or maybe they have a small list. But if a listener does not have an email marketing software, they've never done this before, what are the first like 1 or 2 steps that you recommend to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing, you mentioned an email service provider. You need some sort of system to send these out. So you cannot send out emails from like your Gmail account. You need to sign up for something like MailChimp or Kit, which is formerly ConvertKit. And if you have a Shopify site, it might have email marketing built right into it. But you do need some sort of email service provider. So you can Google email service provider comparisons and sort of see what is the best fit. I use Kit, and it works really, really well for my purposes. And you can even like integrate it with payments, and you can deliver all kind of content that way. So I really like that. So you need to pick one of those and sign up for them. And a lot of them will have a basic plan or maybe a free trial or something like that. So you can try it out. Don't spend a month comparing the different providers to pick one. Just pick one and do it, because you know what? You are going to own your email list. So everyone who signs up and everything that you create in there, it's your content, it's your list. So you can always export it and go join a different platform if you decide that this one doesn't work for you or you want some different features as your business grows. So don't overthink it. Just sign up for one. And then once you sign up for one of these providers, the next most important thing is to get a sign up form on your website. And ideally, you would put it in more than one place. So a popular place to put your email sign up is in a pop-up. We see these all the time when we go to websites. Don't leave. Give us your email address. So those might seem a little bit annoying, but they're very effective. So if your form, is clearly communicating to people what they're going to get from handing over their email address, you can actually get a lot of signups that way. You can also put a sign up form in the footer of your site. If you have a blog, or depending on the layout of your website, you can put it in the sidebar, and you can even embed it in blog posts. And all of these email service provider systems have really easy, just copy and paste the code, and you can pop it in. You do not have to be a professional web developer or coder to figure this out. It's really simple. So step 1, sign up for a service. Step 2, put the sign up form in many different places.
I love that. And just to touch a little bit on like the pop-up aspect of it, I have to as a website designer because they are super effective, but there are things that make it super annoying sometimes. So I say like the 2 tips I have on that end is to not make it fill up your entire screen. So especially if you're first landing on the website. So like if somebody lands on your website and you immediately have a full screen pop-up coming up, it's like, first of all, I don't even know, like, where are you located and what, like, what do you do? And like all of that, like you need to gather that information before you're willing to give somebody your email address. So keep that in mind with your pop-ups. I like to have a delay of at least like 6 seconds and then not having it take up the whole space, even from an SEO perspective as well, in terms of like best practices and keeping people on your website, that sort of thing. Keeping those best practices in mind, but definitely using them because they are like for sure effective.
What do you think about using an exit intent? So like the browser can kind of tell someone's about to leave and then it pops up.
Yeah, I think that's super effective. The only problem is not all softwares have that capability. So it depends like what software you have, if they have that functionality in order for you to use it. Otherwise, you have to kind of guess like, okay, how long should somebody be on this page? And if they're still on this page, like they're probably going to leave soon. So I'm going to do a delay of, 10 seconds or something like that. If your provider has that functionality, I definitely recommend using it. Like I don't know how they actually can tell though. Like if it's just like stagnant for a while and like they think they're going to click and like leave the page, it's kind of impressive and sneaky.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works, but I think it's somehow like your mouse is like moving towards like the back button or the X button.
Okay.
And I'm not really sure exactly how it works, but I know I've used some different tools like some plugins that can like put heat maps on your website. So it like sees where people are sticking around for a little bit. And so maybe it's like a similar technology to that.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, I remember using one. It's called, I think it's called Hotjar. I could be totally butchering that. Is that one? Okay.
That is it. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's really cool from like a user experience perspective, because like if you're listening to this right now and you've never heard of it, like you can like almost see, like it's kind of creepy actually, but you can like see like where the mouse goes and like how people are using your website, like which buttons they're clicking on, or if like they're scrolling over something because it's like, I'm not even reading this, like where they're going to. And then it starts to make like predictive data, basically. Like in essence, this is like where people are going to the most. And like it shows like heat maps of like the most clicked and like stayed on areas of your site. It's really cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. So you could, if you're advanced, you could use Hotjar and kind of see where people are spending time on your site and make sure your opt-in sign-up form is close to there.
Yeah. I used that a long time ago. I should use it again. They have a free version. So if anyone's listening, I'll link it in the show notes. So we talked about like the pop-ups and getting a sign-up form on your website. I'd love to get into some of the most valuable ways to entice potential clients to sign up for your email list. Like how do you grow that list and actually basically get a list to email?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great question, because I think that like the default form is going to say, sign up for our list to stay informed about all of our newest promotions. And that's like not that exciting, right? We're all click away from that because you've seen it a million times. So your goal is to come up with something that is going to capture your audience's attention or your visitors to your website's attention. And a good way to do that is by offering them something. And you want to think of something that's going to help them. So I think that we can overcomplicate this or just kind of get stuck in this whole, like, I'll give them a 10% discount. But that's just not that exciting. Like, is 10% really that exciting to you? Because it doesn't excite me. And so you want to kind of think about, and this is where it's important to know exactly who your audience is or who your ideal customer is. And then think about what is a problem that they have that I could help them solve. So, for example, if you live somewhere where it's really cold and you're a dog walker or pet sitting service or a dog trainer even, maybe a really helpful thing would be, how cold is too cold to take my dog for a walk? Or, what are some ways that I can keep my dog active when it's really, really cold out or something like that. So I know that I have a blog post about how cold it is too cold to walk your dog, and it always gets a lot of traffic at this time of year because this is a problem that people are Googling all the time. So put your little brainstorming cap on and think about what is a problem that your ideal customer might be Googling or asking you about or asking their friends about, and see if you can come up with a resource that you could give to them for free in exchange for signing up for your email list. And this is considered a lead magnet, or as you might see it called, an opt-in freebie. And it could be as simple as something right in the body of an email. It could be a PDF that you send them. It could be a video. It could be tons of different things. But again, don't have to overcomplicate it. Just put the helpful information out there for people, because what they want is the answers and the information. It doesn't necessarily have to be presented in a super complicated way. So think about what their problem is, how you could solve it, write down the answer, and then make that your sign up form. Say, give me your email address, and in exchange, I will send you my exclusive guide on what temperatures are safe to walk your dog and how to keep them active indoors when it's too cold to go outside, or something like that. And you can set this all up automated in your email system so that like the minute someone signs up, they can automatically get this freebie sent to them.
I love that you have a like pretty specific like opt-in, topic, because I feel like so many times it's very broad or general, or it's just like get our like info packet, or like why, I feel like a big one is like, why choose a professional pet sitter? Like those aren't necessarily things that people are necessarily clicking on. Like if they land on your website, they likely are already interested in that type of service. They want to know, like, you really do have to think through, like, what are your ideal clients? Like, what are their problems and issues, like, specifically? And can you address them and be a resource for them and build that trust with them? I feel like that's so valuable to get more specific and targeted with that.
Yeah, I think getting really specific is good. And the thing is, you can change it out as much as you want. So try that one for January, February when it's freezing cold out. And then maybe you switch to some, rainy day activities in the springtime. And then in the summer, it's like, when is it too hot to walk the dog? So you can kind of switch this out seasonally, but really make it something specific to your customers or your ideal customers that you're trying to attract.
Awesome. I love that we're getting so like specific into this too, because I feel like so much of the email marketing education out there isn't necessarily for a like local pet service business. And I feel like it's, it's more for like e-commerce or like things like that. So I'm really excited that we're actually talking about pet service businesses and examples that they can use. And that's, as I lead into the next question, in terms of, we got people on the email list, like what emails do we send them, right? Because I feel like the biggest thing I see for pet service providers is like, all right, like we send a monthly email, but we can probably do a little more than that too. So I'm curious, like your thoughts, like, do you do monthly newsletters, sequences, like what emails should they be sending and how often, like all that good stuff. I'd love to hear specifically for pet service businesses.
Yeah, sure. So I love getting specific and I love brainstorming fun ideas. So I'm happy to talk about all of this. So when it comes to your email frequency and if you're going to send broadcasts, like, like a newsletter kind of thing, or if, like a programmed sequence, honestly, like the answer is you can do whatever you want. But, I think that just emailing once a month is not enough, because I think that you need to, your goal is to kind of stay top of mind for people, to build a relationship with them where they trust you and they think of you and they feel like they know you. I think that once a month is just a little bit too infrequent. So I would try and up that to at least twice a month. I email my list incessantly. I have my list kind of, and this is another thing you can do, is I have my list split up into two different segments, and then I have a whole bunch of other little segments and stuff too. But for the main purposes, I have one list that's pet professionals, where I share business advice, marketing advice, my podcast, that kind of stuff. And I have another segment on my list that's pet parents, where I'll share canine enrichment, dog health, how cold is too cold to walk the dog, that kind of stuff. You can split your list up, and usually my pet parents, I will email them once a week is my goal. And then for the pet business people, it's usually once a week, but sometimes I'll email them like 3 times in 1 week. And that's in addition to the pet parent one that goes out. So I do personally send a lot of emails, and I don't get a lot of unsubscribes. I think people's biggest fear is they're going to annoy people and you're going to get unsubscribes. But you really have to focus on the info you're sending out is helpful. If you have a pet service business, you are constantly serving people and helping people. And so you just have to think of your emails as an extension of that. So just like popping in to, walk someone's dog or give their special needs cats their medicine or whatever it is, your email is just the same as that. It's like popping into their inbox to help them with something. So when you think about what you want to send out, it could be those tips like, how cold is too cold, or how can I entertain my dog, or how to choose a professional pet sitter. But you could also share like way more specific local stuff, especially if you're a local service and everyone on your list is local. You could tell them, hey, I was walking Fluffy the other day and we went to this coffee shop. I love it because they let you take your dog in to order a coffee. And, reply to this email and tell me about your other favorite dog-friendly places around town. So, asking people to reply gets the conversation going back and forth. So it's not just you shouting out into the void, but you're really kind of building a relationship and building a friendship with all the people on your email list. I'm sure that your listeners have clients that they text with and share recommendations and advice with and life updates. So you want to treat your email list like that as well.
I love so much of like everything you did. I'm like, I have so many thoughts from what you just said, because I feel like it's so helpful. And it's funny how so much of marketing can also be overlapped in terms of like, because I immediately thought to like blog posts and how typically we get really broad there as well, right? Like, why choose a professional pet sitter? But like when you're targeting specific areas, like your people are in your community and people love community. So like the ability to, like share about the coffee shop or even share a blog post that you wrote about like, pet friendly restaurants in your area, like those sort of things can like bring people together because you're talking about the same area that they know. And it's things that they're really interested in hearing about.
Right. And like think about, a lot of communities in the summertime are affected by like blue algae outbreaks in the water. So that would be something you could send to your list and be like, hey guys, heads up, keep your pups out of the water this week. Here's a link to, the news article about it or something like that. So it doesn't always have to be promoting a service or a sale or something that you're doing. You kind of want to think about this is building trust with your people. So you want them to think of you as, oh, Michaela knows about what to do with dogs here or what to do with cats or whatever it is. So you don't necessarily always have to be sharing some sort of sales thing in the email. You just want to show that you are the expert resource on this topic, and then they'll think of you when they do need your service.
Yeah. And I love your example too of like the blue algae, because you're making it seem like you don't need to actually have like a complicated, crazy formatted, like long email with all sorts of, like this month, here's what's going on. And like, a big, because I feel like a lot of times that can be intimidating in itself, right? So many of our listeners are so busy. And it's like, okay, now I need to sit down and like figure out all of these things I need to put into this email. It could be a short email, right? About like the blue algae. Here's a tip. Like, I'm thinking of you guys. Like, here's information about our community.
Yes. Yeah. I think that some emails can be long and some can be short. People are always like, how long should a blog post be, or how long should an email be, or like a YouTube video or anything? And the answer is it should be as long as it needs to be to get the information delivered to people. So don't add a whole bunch of extra fluff. Don't make it too short where they're confused. Just tell them what they need to know and get in and get out.
Yeah. Like a conversation, like whatever you would tell your client in their house. So if you're, doing a visit and then you're talking to them, like whatever you're telling them in a conversation, I
Right.
feel like it can be more conversational.
Yes. Yeah. So you might have a longer email when you have a lot of updates, a lot to share. Or it might just be, hey guys, check out this link, see if your area is affected by the blue algae. Let me know if I can answer any questions. Bye.
I love it. I feel like that releases a lot of pressure. But obviously, bottom line when it comes to email marketing is you are trying to grow your business, get more sales, things like that. So do you have any advice? Because I know that, you mentioned it too, like a lot of people are, worried about coming off as spammy or salesy, that sort of thing. So do you have any advice on writing emails when it comes to like those types of emails where you are potentially trying to grow the business? Like, how do you make the reader, writer just feel like it's still a genuine conversation? We're not necessarily just like, bye. I'm pausing this episode really fast to share something with you. If you're looking for an easy way to create beautiful emails that connect with your audience, I've got just the tool for you, Flowdesk. It's super user-friendly, and the best part, you don't need to be a designer to make your emails look amazing. Whether you're sending out monthly newsletters or you're diving into more advanced segmentation, Flowdesk makes email marketing simple and effective. And because I want to help you take your email marketing to the next level, you can use my code UNLEASHED to get 30 days free and 50% off your first year with Flowdesk. It's the perfect way to create stunning professional emails no matter your skill level or how complex your email strategy is. Head to the show notes or go directly to flowdesk.com and use code UNLEASHED to get your 50% off offer. All right, now that we've talked about this wonderful email marketing tool, let's dive back into today's conversation on leveling up your email marketing strategy.
Yeah. So my favorite example to share from this, a lot of email marketing experts out there will say, write your emails like you're writing to a friend. And there's someone, I forget who it is, but they have some sort of acronym about that, like maybe just email to a friend. I don't know what it is, but write like you actually know and like the people that you're writing to. So I find it really helpful to picture one person. And so sometimes I'll just imagine my sister. And I'll, write in the subject line or the whatever, not salutation line, but you know what I'm
Like personalization. Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, why am I? That's so formal. But I'll just write like, hey, Sloan, I know that you've been looking for a DNA test or something for your dog, but I just found this link to this other thing that might be more helpful for you. And it's on sale today. Check it out. So that's very similar to a real email that I sent out like last Christmas or something and changed the personalization to dear, like subscriber name. I didn't send it all out to dear Sloan. But my actual sister wrote back to the email and said, I thought this email was personally for me. And that was like, I felt like I could put my email like crown on that day. I was so proud that I really had accomplished, sending an email out to 4,000 people where everyone felt like it was personally just for them. So it really helps if you can picture one person. Maybe it's a client or a sister or a friend or something like that, where you can just write it as if you were writing it to them. A lot of times when we're selling stuff, we want to kind of lead with all the features and all the things. But, the service that you're providing is something that people need and that is helpful to them. So, you can just say, hey, I know it's a really busy time of year. If you need any help, I'm here. Here's the link to book a walk for next week. I have some availability in the morning. If that works for you, let me know if you have any questions. And that's it. So it doesn't always have to be like our walks include a 30-minute potty break. We walk at least 1.2 miles. We send you a photo. We do this, we do that. It doesn't always have to be the list of the features. It can just be, checking in with someone like you would with a friend.
Yeah, I feel like you make this sound so approachable and like doable, which is really what people are looking for, which I'm so excited. And I think too, something that I heard this a long time ago when it comes to like the whole, worrying about sounding like salesy and spammy. I feel like if you're super confident in what you offer, it's like, say you're a dog trainer, like you are the best dog trainer in town. You're going to get results for your clients. If you're not selling your services to those people, then they're like, you're actually hurting them, right? Like if you're actually not willing to be able to speak about what you're going to do to change their life, they could go to another trainer or not do training. And now the dog's unhappy, the family's unhappy. Like think about what happens when you don't put yourself out there and people are finding other solutions that aren't as life-changing as maybe yours, would provide.
Exactly. You are kind of depriving people of the wonderful help that you have to offer. And if you're a dog trainer, a wonderful thing to talk about that won't feel salesy, but that will establish your trust and expertise is to talk about transformations. So, when I started working with Bert, who is my naughty dog, when I started working with Bert, he was a counter surfing maniac and hunting down rabbits in the backyard. And, through, providing enrichment and positive reinforcement, we were able to get him to stop jumping on the counter and stop eating all the rabbits in the yard.
Oh,
So,
yikes.
sharing a transformation like that would show people proof that you've had results. And it also just, people love like a human interest story. And even better is like a pet interest story. So, including some sort of, great transformation, whether it's big or small, is something that a lot of us could include in our emails.
And I feel like, I mean, that's something that, I mean, again, when I talk about marketing overlapping, like that's something as well that we talk about with like website copywriting is like not just listing the features, but also like how are you transforming their lives or even like testimonial pages. Sorry to get sidetracked here, but like testimonial pages, I don't really typically recommend. I'm like, you need to put that testimonial under or like on the page of that particular service so that when they're looking into like separation anxiety training, they see a testimonial of another story of a dog going through that process and how that transformation unfolded. Because they're going to see, like when you send those emails, they're going to see their own life within that story. Like, oh my gosh, like the dog doesn't have separation anxiety anymore. I want to do that. Being able to see those success stories is so powerful in the pet industry, especially like such a personal industry.
Yes. Yeah, especially if someone can relate and be like, "Oh, their dog was like barking all day long. That's what my dog. I didn't know that was separation anxiety. I just thought they were annoying." So it might have sort of like an aha moment for the person reading it where they can identify with the story and realize that you can solve a problem that they weren't even really aware there was a solution for. So that would be really amazing. And also I just want to point out if you do have all these pages set up on your website and you've got nice product pages and testimonials, that's your emails are done. Just go comb your website and all your email content is right in there for you. You just have to kind of pull it out.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like it's worth like disclosing here too as well when it comes to because I feel like dog trainers like easily have really awesome transformation stories to share. This can still be applicable to pet photographers, dog walkers. Like there's such big impact. I mean, even like for dog walkers, being able to capture pets maybe before they cross the rainbow bridge, like that's so impactful. Like something that, people want to be able to experience or dog walkers, like pulling on the leash or now is more outgoing, doesn't like eat the furniture or, like there's so many stories that are worth sharing, even if it seems like it's not that, life
Yeah,
change.
even
And it's,
but like yeah, because even the people think about like okay, this owner, this pet parent is less stressed every day. They have time to go like do whatever they need to do because, I've been going in and walking their dog for them every day. So there's so many different ways you could tell that story.
yeah, for sure. Okay. So when it comes to, we're talking about growing lists, trying to, get new clients in the door through email marketing, but I'd also love to talk about like current and past clients. I'm sure and all of our listeners have probably heard of the 80/20 rule and it applies pretty much universally everywhere. And it might not be perfect, but essentially that would mean that 20% of your, revenue or 80% of your revenue would come from, 20% of your clients, for example. It's easier to tap into your current network than it is to constantly be looking for new clients and things like that. So I'd love to talk about email specifically for current and past clients. How can pet service businesses use email to nurture those people?
Yeah. So, okay. So you use the word nurture. And so this is something that you might see, or you can Google a nurture sequence. And you can really nurture your audience, even people who are past clients. And I do this even with my membership. Sometimes people who have canceled for whatever reason, they didn't have time or something, I'll send them a nurture or re-engagement kind of sequence to be like, hey, you want to come back and give it another try? So you can totally do that with people, and you can kind of program these emails in. So you can get kind of sophisticated with it. You could kind of see like when did they cancel services or when was their last service, and you could schedule this sequence to automatically send like 60 days later or whatever it is. Or you can just be simple and just schedule out some email broadcasts to go out to people. But it is really, I think, important with your emails if you're trying to keep customers engaged, keep that 20% of your audience that's making up 80% of your revenue. It's important to have that back and forth with them. I like to use all kind of interactive features in emails like polls. You can do a poll or a survey. You can use all kind of plugins and different tools to do that, or you can just say, reply to this email and tell me, do you like A, B, or C better? So you can make it as techie or as non-techie as you want. Just what's most important is they feel heard and seen and like their opinion is valued. That's always important. You just want to make people feel like they're included in your business and what you're doing. Maybe if you're considering offering a new route or serving a new neighborhood, you might want to email out to your list and say, hey, what do you think? What would be the best neighborhood for me to expand to next? And list out a couple of them. And they're not all going to see the results of this poll. So you can go ahead with whatever business decision you want. But it is, you might get a surprise. You might get 90% of the responses say a neighborhood that you weren't going to go with. So it might help you out, but it'll also help people just feel engaged and included. I do find that I like to solicit a lot of replies in my emails because I like communicating with people that way. But you're right, it is definitely 20% or less of the list who is consistently replying and being active and clicking on stuff. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there who are lurking and just reading and enjoying it. But it is going to be kind of a smaller percentage who actually engages.
And that doesn't mean to stop doing it because that's super valuable. It's super valuable to have those people doing that. It increases deliverability. Those are the people that probably are more likely to book with you. They're more loyal, like they're more likely to refer. So if you do send an email about expanding to a neighborhood, they might know somebody in that neighborhood. Like being able to kind of communicate with those people, those are your biggest fans. And so being able to make them feel like they're a part of something really special, I feel like is so impactful.
Yes, definitely. And I think that, I have a lot of people on my email list because I'm really into this. And I've been doing it for years. And my business is a little bit different. It's not a local service. I have a blog that reaches people all over the world. So it's a little bit different. But don't be discouraged. You don't need 4,000 people on your email list or even 1,000 people on your email list. You can have a small list as long as you consistently keep in touch with them. That's really the key. And I think even when you're just getting started and maybe there's like 5 people on your list, it's still a good idea to build that muscle of I'm going to email every Thursday or every other Thursday or whatever it is. Just get in the routine of it. And then eventually it will grow. Ask them to tell their friends, experiment with a different opt-in freebie, try to keep growing it. But it really is important to be consistent with it.
I completely agree. So I cannot interview you because without mentioning your incredible ability to build genuine connections and relationships with community. So we have to talk a little bit about that. I'd love to know your advice on how pet businesses can personalize their email marketing to build like stronger connections and relationships with their community.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, there's a lot of things we can do because we're working with pets. So, people love to celebrate their pet's birthday or their gotcha day. So, if you happen to know that information, you could set up some automated emails. Can you tell I really like automation?
Oh, yeah.
Automation can help you seem like you're on top of the ball all the time, but you don't have to be actually physically doing this stuff all the time yourself. So you can automate these like happy gotcha day emails or happy birthday emails. You could even, make a note in your email system of when a person purchased a package from you or started a service with you, and you could schedule an email out for 60 days later and say, hey, we've been working together for 2 months. Just wanted to see if you could leave me a Google review or something like that. So you can schedule out these kind of emails. I mentioned that I love polling my audience and getting their feedback. And one way that you could kind of take that to the next level to further personalize your emails is when someone votes in a poll, you can tag them as having a certain interest. So you might be able to be kind of crafty with your polling questions, and you could figure out, does this person have a puppy or a senior dog? Do they have cats and dogs? Do they have separation anxiety? Or are they working on trick training? Or do they have a service dog? So you can tag people with all of these different interests. And as your list grows and you start kind of segmenting people, you can send them specific emails just for that particular interest. So, I do that all the time. I have kind of a list of people. I'm based in Pittsburgh, so I try to keep active on my list of like who's in Pittsburgh, and I might send them an email specific to something going on here. Or if I know that, some of my petpreneur side of people are in the product side of business, I might send them a special email that's specific to them. So not only like they don't know that not everyone's getting that email, but if you were to get an email that had nothing to do with what you're doing, you might unsubscribe from the list or just kind of feel like this person doesn't get me. So
Mhm.
I think it is important to segment your list and try to send those kind of targeted emails when you can. That's not something you have to do every week, but maybe make a little note like once a quarter, try to send something that's really personalized. And then at a really basic level, put the person's name, hi, Michaela, hi, Tori. And you can put it in places other than just the top, like the greeting of the email. You can actually put their name further down at the bottom. Like, so that's all I have to say for today. Name. We'll talk to you next week and sign off from there. So I think that's something I don't see a lot of people doing is putting the name further down in the email, but that can really just kind of make it a little extra special.
Yeah, those are some great ideas. Yeah, and I feel like, everyone, I mean, for the most part, should know to put the personalized name at the top, but adding it later on in the email can really make it feel like it was written for them. And then being able to segment your list down further. And it's not that, like, it sounds like techie, and it really is not. Like, whatever email marketing software you have should have the ability to easily be able to do that. So, like, yeah, if they click on, like, are you in Pittsburgh? Like, yes, now I can add them to a Pittsburgh list, like that sort of thing, to really narrow down your list so that, I'm not getting an email from you that's like, hey, come see me in Pittsburgh, this week, like, it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's weird. Like, I shouldn't be on this list. This list doesn't fit me. And then I unsubscribe. So that's super
Mhm.
powerful to be able to not only segment your list so that people aren't unsubscribing, but also reaching people with what they're most interested in or what they resonate the most with.
Yeah,
So when it,
I think especially if you're like a dog trainer or something, reaching people at different life stages of the dog will really make them feel seen and heard.
yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, because there's a big difference between like puppy training and separation anxiety or behavioral training and things like that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. With my senior dogs, I'm not like if someone sends me an email, how to get your dog to stop biting the baseboards, we're way past that. So, that doesn't really apply to me.
yeah, for sure. So when it comes to your emails, one of the biggest things that people find hurdles with is subject lines and actually getting those emails opened. Do you have any advice or tips for writing subject lines that get opened?
Yes. So there are some tips that are pretty simple. So first of all, and this is kind of I don't know, this is kind of a tactic, I guess, is to write your subject line in all lowercase letters. So instead of capitalizing each word, which makes it seem like it's an email from Athleta or something, instead writing it like all lowercase, it kind of helps it stick out from those promotional salesy emails that you might be getting from big box retailers or something like that. So that's something you can do. I do kind of like to lead with a question, but I try not to make it too clickbaity. I think you can get away with that every once in a while, but you don't want every email to have a super clickbaity subject line. And by that, I would mean something like, I'm here. Are you coming? If that was your subject line or that was the vibe of your subject line every single time, it's just like the boy who cried wolf, So you need to use that very sparingly. Like if I'm doing some sort of online Zoom event or something, I might send out an email that says, I'm in the Zoom room. Where are you? But that's really specific just to those people who have RSVP'd for that. And just to kind of get their attention and make sure they join the Zoom room 5 minutes before the event goes live. But in general, for your weekly or monthly emails that you're sending out, just make it short and sweet. A lot of the email service providers will kind of recommend a character count. You don't want it to be too long because it'll get cut off in people's email systems. They're only going to see the first so many characters or words. So make sure to keep it short and sweet and don't overthink it too much. But have fun with it. Some really fun subject lines that have performed well for me are like, I had one that did really my most opened email ever. I think I had like a 57% open rate on this one. And the title just said controversial opinion.
Mm.
And I had a controversial opinion in that email. So it got a lot of opens. So, don't be afraid to kind of push the envelope a little bit and have some fun with it.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like subject lines, I know people like, yeah, it's easy to overthink them, but I feel like if you allow yourself to have fun with it, I feel like it's super fun. And you can also A/B test your subject lines too.
Yeah.
And then the more you do it, then the more you can kind of learn what your people are opening and liking. So if you don't know A/B testing, you could put in like 2 subject lines and then your email marketing it depends on the software. I think you can also customize on some softwares. I think Kit allows you to like, all right, after like 60 minutes or so after, 2 hours,
Mhm.
let's pick the winner of, which one's most opened. And then the rest of the emails that go out, it'll send to those people. But that could be a way to kind of refine down what your people are liking. You can experiment a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think it does. It sends both versions out to like 20% of your list. And then 3 hours later, it sends the rest of the people, whichever one did better.
Yeah, that's funny. The 20% of the winners of the
Yeah, you're
20%.
right.
Like 80.
You're right.
I love it. Okay, as we wrap up a little bit, I'd love if you could share if you have any final email marketing strategies or tips for pet service businesses that they may be overlooking, or any like final pieces of advice when it comes to email marketing.
Yes. So I think I kind of have this sprinkled all throughout our interview, but just don't overthink it. Just do it. People are always telling me, oh, Tori, you make it sound so simple. Because it can be simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it. And just set a goal. For me, it works really well to say I'm going to email every Thursday. And sometimes I work ahead and I plan it out in advance and it's all scheduled. But a lot of the time, I'm sitting there Thursday morning writing my email because I've made this commitment to myself and to my list that it's going to go out. And a good way to kind of help yourself stay accountable is, sometimes I'll put in my PS line, like, I email you every Thursday, so stay tuned for next week. Or, I might start the email out with, hey, it's Thursday, so here's another email from me. And so it kind of reinforces to my list that I'm going to send it out every Thursday, but it really keeps me accountable that I got to stay on top of it because they're looking for it every Thursday. I recommend coming up with just a consistent schedule that you can stick to and be realistic about it. So if it's every other week, do that just as long as you can be consistent.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny. I feel the same way. I feel like I'm like, wow, you really do make this seem so easy. And then it's like, even for myself, I'm very much into email. I love email and I have all these advanced like sequences and like all segmentations and all that stuff. And I'm like, I could actually make this a lot more simple. And I feel like it could be more
Ye-
effective.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for years. So I have also all these sequences and all these forms and all these tags. And I was always sending my email and I'd be going through like trying to select everyone and all these things that people have opted into. And earlier this year, I was like, Tori, just say select all. Just say send to everyone. Why
Right.
am I going in and trying to select all these different things? I just send it to everyone. And then, and then from there, I can say, just don't send it maybe to this few small group of people. Instead of trying to select everyone it does go to, I just select a smaller list of who it doesn't go to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Good advice. Keep it simple. I feel like that's
Yeah.
the theme for keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it breezy.
You can't see it, but behind me, I have taped on the wall, how easy can it be? And I have
Mm.
it there because I need to see it every day.
I love that. That's incredible. There's the theme for today's episode. I love it. So before we go, you have a really awesome membership for petpreneurs. I would love to learn a little bit more about it and where people can find you and the membership.
Thank you so much. So, my membership is called Wear, Wag, Repeat Society. And 2025 was actually year 5 of the membership. So, it's been around for over 4 years. And I have over 48 archived lessons and resources from everything about visibility and social media and marketing to revenue lessons, mindset, strategies, systems to kind of help you find that work-life balance. We've got some guest experts in there, some panel discussions, which I think you're on one of the panels in there. So there's all kind of resources and it's really affordable. It's $69 a month to be a member and you get access to all of that, our monthly calls. And new this year, I have weekly Voxer hours. So there's even that's like my one-on-one support component of the membership. So it's honestly my favorite thing that I do. And you can just find it at wearwagrepeat.com/society.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Before I let you go, we end every guest interview with a question or two about burnout and stress. So something that is very, very common in life of business owners, specifically also in pet industry. So what is one mindfulness practice or tip that you do in your day to help you reduce stress and burnout?
Yes. So I can get very stressed out and feel like I have to do everything and my to-do list is a mile long. So something that really helps me is having hobbies and hobbies that have nothing to do with my business and for me nothing to do with dogs because dogs are my business. So earlier in 2024, I did Italian lessons for 6 months and that was really fun to learn how to speak Italian because I was going on a trip there. And then I also, one of my other favorite hobbies is I sew and I've been making quilts for the past couple of years.
Cool.
And I really love that because you can't be on your phone. I listen to like audiobooks or watch movies kind of in the background when I'm doing it, but it's something that's totally different from my job and it's really creative and I just kind of get absorbed in it and hours go by and I'm like sitting in my sewing room working on this. So I really encourage everyone to find some sort of hobby that is not related to your work at all.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like you keep giving me like, I'm like, this episode's actually for me, not for my listener. I'm like, this is so relevant. Literally last night, my
It's
husband,
personalized for
yeah,
you,
right.
Michaela.
Yeah, right. My husband and I literally last night were talking. He's like, you need to find like a hobby because I'm like either working or momming or, I'm like always go,
Yeah.
go, go. And I'm like, so I was actually talking about buying those like adult like paint with numbers. I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
paint, but like not necessarily like use my creative brain, if that makes sense. Like be creative without
Uh-huh.
like the brain power of it. And I was like, those look really cool. And they actually look really awesome. Like the adult ones are very like, they look very advanced and intense. And I'm like, I need something like that. I'm like, that'll be fun. So you just encouraged me to look into that and buy it.
I think you should do it. And I think you should tell people about it because it's just been fun to hear about other petpreneurs. One of my members, Ruth, she's a dog trainer, but she loves doing glass mosaic on the side. I've just talked to other people who just have such fun, creative hobbies like that. I think it's
Yeah.
really good for your life work balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely important when it comes to burnout, which is so common. So then maybe this will be something that I include in the email that goes out when I share about this episode.
There you go. Wow.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tori. This was such a fun conversation. Letting go of the pressure, but still implementing email marketing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to connecting more this year.
Thanks for listening to the Pet Marketing Unleashed podcast all the way to the end. You're the best. If you loved what you heard, please share the podcast with your pet biz friends. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review. We love to hear what you think of the show, and we are so grateful for all the support and love you show by sharing the podcast with others. And don't forget to stop by our website, petmarketingunleashed.com, where you'll find a ton of resources, recommended tools, blogs, templates, courses, and more to help you grow a stress-free and fulfilling pet business. Here's to saving time, ditching the stress, and standing out from the pack. Thanks again so much for listening, and I will be back soon with a new episode. Bye for now.